Because resources are unevenly distributed, trade in commodities has become an enormously important part of the global economy. In this lecture, we will examine key concepts and spatial patterns in the changing geographies of industry and service, to include newly industrialized economies, export processing zones, and offshoring. These topics are important to geography to see and understand how and why the spatial patterns of industry and services have changed in a global setting. Japan's manufacturing success was paralleled by rapid economic growth, improved living standards, and reduction in poverty. By the 1970s, they became the country for others to emulate. In addition, four other Asian countries were also showing signs of growth and productivity. These countries were collectively called the Four Asian Tigers and included Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. This first tier began what was called newly industrialized economies. A second tier also emerged in the 1980s as important manufacturing centers, which included Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Thailand. Between the 1960s and the 1980s, the NIEs had high rates of growth in manufacturing output, often in excess of 10%. In addition, manufacturing shifted to the production of higher technology goods. The map shows the first and second tier Asian NIEs. Notice the geographic pattern that distinguished first-tier NIEs, which experienced significant declines in the 1980s, from the second-tier NIEs, whose declines are more recent. There were three major factors why these NIEs experienced an economic transformation. One, their governments supported initiatives to increase manufacturing productivity and improve trade. Two, a gradual shift from labor-intensive industries to higher value-added technology-intensive industries. And three, the presence of skilled labor force. Some of the manufacturing growth in the semi-peripheral and periphery is attributed to government policies encouraging the creation of export processing zones. An export processing zone, or EPZ, is also called a free trade zone. These zones are located in industrial areas that operate according to different policies than the rest of the country in which it is located, in order to attract and support export-oriented production. EPZs are a common strategy for countries to industrialize because they help attract foreign investment and trade, create new types of exports, and can generate jobs. The two photos show an example of EPZs in Mexico called maquiladoras. Maquiladoras are workshops, but their exteriors rarely reveal the nature of the work performed inside. Located in Tijuana, across the border from San Diego, this U.S.-owned maquiladora manufactures medical devices. Of the border cities, Tijuana has the largest number of maquiladoras. These women make wire harnesses for automobiles at a maquiladora. Maquiladoras have increased the participation of women in the workforce, but they have also been associated with the discriminatory practice of making pregnancy tests a condition of hire. Another unique economic zone is a special economic zone, or SEZ, specifically in China. Special economic zones are export processing zones established in China as part of a national policy to create a more open, market-oriented economy. Similar to other EPZs, SEZs were created as a tool to attract foreign investment with a variety of incentives. The differences, however, are that SEZs are larger and more comprehensively conceived. There are more functions within an SEZ than just production of goods for export. SEZs also promote research and development and tourism. The map shows the special economic zones in China. Zhuhai, Shenzhen, Shantou, and Xiamen were the first SEZs. Hainan Island was then added as a fifth SEZ. Until recently, the geography of China's SEZs and open areas has been predominantly coastal. Offshoring, which is the transfer of an internal or outsourced business activity from a domestic to an international location, is extremely valuable in many companies today. These firms who engage in offshoring also engage in manufacturing value added, or MVA. MVA is one way to measure industrial output through taking the cost of the finished products and subtracting that from the cost of the purchased inputs. In other words, the process of manufacturing transforms a raw material into something more useful, which in turn adds value to the final output, more so than just the cost of the raw material plus the cost of manufacturing process. For example, if you build a house on a piece of land, raw land, the value of the raw land itself goes up after the house is completed, and not just by the cost of building the house. In offshoring, all of the manufacturing is done in foreign countries who can deliver the goods in a cost-effective manner. Companies like Levi Strauss & Company create the value added by the branding, research and development, and marketing that goes into their product. Levi jeans as shown in the photo. The chart shows how manufacturing value added changes across the commodity chain. Value added in manufacturing and the required skill level of the workers increase as work performed changes from assembly to the creation of brand name designs. Places that have export processing zones and large pools of low-skilled labor tend to be especially attractive to low value-added types of manufacturing. Another example of manufacturing value added can be seen in the profit captured in an iPad. All purchased inputs for an iPad total $316. Subtracting that amount from the cost of the finished product, $499, generates an MVA of $183. Where is that MVA produced? Where are the profits returned? To help us understand these questions, we need to examine the steps involved. The first step in the process is in the design and development, the components of which are shown in the upper right photo. Apple, based in the United States, is responsible for the development of the product, the brand design, marketing, and distribution. The company also makes decisions about where manufacturing occurs. Next, Apple outsources the manufacture of these components to numerous companies including Samsung in South Korea and Toshiba in Japan as shown in the map. South Korea creates most of the MVA because the most expensive components are manufactured there. Once the product is completed, the table in the upper left shows the profits captured in the various places involved. Notice how the geographic distribution of profit differs from the geography of the MVA. Because the Taiwanese firm Foxconn owns the factories in China that assemble the iPad, the small profit that China makes stems mainly from wages. Finally, the total profit is captured by role in the commodity chain as shown in the bottom left graph. Most profits are returned to Apple, but about a third are distributed among offshore manufacturers. Please pause the video and answer the following. How does offshoring impact the geography of profit captured from manufacturing? In your own words, using the text as a guide, be thorough and specific in your answer.